The study of soil has been a focus since the early days of agrarian civilizations. However, the close connection between soil and humanity can be traced back in the oldest civilizations. For example, in Hebrew, the word Adama means soil, while Hava means who gives life. This strong connection between mankind and soil can also be found in Hinduism and Islam. Historically, this connection has been more empirical, spiritual and religious, rather than scientific. Early historical documents reveal that soil studies were conducted by agricultural scientists and practitioners in various parts of the world. The discipline was given different names, such as pedology, agrogeology, and geopedology. In the following minutes, you will learn how during the 4th International Conference of Pedology held in Rome in 1924, soil scientists from around the world came together to establish an international society. They agreed upon a common name for this society, which became the International Society of Soil Science.
We are in Rome, in the gorgeous setting of the Villa Borghese Park, close to the beautiful Villa Lubin Palace. Right here, on May 19, 1924, 463 soil scientists came together to hold the 4th International Conference of Pedology, established their own scientific society. They all agreed upon the name, International Society of Soil Science, and approved its first status. In the late 19th and early 20s, it became clear to many scientists that the different fields of soil science needed a reference, a common framework, and a scientific societies of reference. This awareness moved forward the will to have a specific discipline and society related to soil science. Today, hundreds of years later, we are celebrating the centennial of these outstanding societies, and we are going to share with you its remarkable story. And so we are here at the Villa Lubin Palace, where the story began.
Hello, Anna.
Hi, Anna. Please, let's explain why here in Villa Lubin.
Yes. To understand fully the reasons why the International Union of Soil Science was founded here, it is important to know the history of David Lubin and of the villa named after him. David Lubin was born in Poland 1849, and after the death of his father, emigrated to North America. Here received a very poor education. Despite that, he began some different business and in Sacramento bought a ranch and some land. As farmer, David Lubin started to collect statistics about agricultural production, studying planted animals, investigating their diseases, and finding remedies.
In his new vocation of farmer, he developed the idea of an international agricultural congress. In this way, one side of the globe might learn what the other side was producing. It is for this reason that David Lubin decided to come to Europe, and finally in Italy.
In 1904, David Lubin arrived in Italy and spent an all night to wait the King Vittorio Emanuele III. The king was very impressed by the stamina of David Lubin and gave him an headquarter and $60,000 for his activity.
And it is precisely after this particular meeting with the king that Lubin, in May 1905, opened the International Institute of Agriculture, the IIA, in Rome. In the following years, the headquarter was this villa, designed by the architect Pompeo Passerini and built between 1906 to 1908.
After the Second World War, the International Institute of Agriculture merged to Food Agriculture Organization. In 1948, the Library of Food Agriculture Organization was named after David Lubin.
After the transfer of the International Institute of Agriculture to the Food Agriculture Organization, Villa Lubin became property of the Italian government and today houses the headquarters of the National Council for Economy and Labor. The villa is very large and the two most important rooms are the so-called Parlamentino and the Yellow Room. In the Parlamentino room we find two imposing frescoes, and David Lubin's chair is still present. The Yellow Room, however, in addition to its furnishings and frescoes, is famous for a historically important reason.
This is the Yellow Room, the council room, where 19 of the May 1924, the Statute of Soil Science Society was signed.
In 1905, David Lubin opened the International Institute of Agriculture, and in 1924 the Charter of the Soil Science Society was signed. During these 19 years, there were 3 agrogeological conferences in various parts of the world.
The first International Agrogeological Conference was held in 1909 in Budapest, and saw the participation of 8 European different countries. The conference discussion was about the agroecological nature of soil origin and the kind of soil from different points of view. There were also proposals to uniform soil classification and laboratory methods. 170 soil scientists attended the Second International Agrogeological Conference held in Stockholm in 1910. Professor Paolo Vinassa de Regnier shared the idea of an international conference in Rome. Unfortunately, the international collaboration between soil scientists was cut off by the First World War, and so the St. Petersburg Conference could not take place. The Third International Agrogeological Conference was held in 1922 in Prague. The conference saw the participation of 50 soil scientists and established an international pedological committee. The delegate Borghesani, on behalf of Italian Agronomic Society, suggests to organize the Fourth International Conference in Rome in 1924.
So, the Third Agrogeological Conference proved to be a fundamental stage. Among the protagonists of the conference, there were 3 personalities coming from different parts of Europe who have dedicated their lives to soil science.
Emil Raman was one of the pioneers of soil science in the late 19th and early 20th century. In 1900 he moved to Munich, became professor of soil science and agricultural chemistry at the University of Munich, and at the same time director of the Department of Soil Science at the Bavarian State Institute of Forest Research in Munich. One big topic for him was how do trees get the nutrients from the soil?
Professor Kopecký was interested in soil science and amelioration measures. 10 years after finishing his study, he perfected Schoen's apparatus for study of soil texture. But most famous instrument of Professor Kopecký was stainless steel cylinder used in soil physics for bulk density, for calculation of porosity.
Well, Dr. Hissink studied chemistry at the University in Amsterdam and obtained his PhD in 1899 at the same university. As a chemist, he went to Indonesia, and there he studied tobacco plants, the development of tobacco plants. And he introduced the analysis of soils, the chemical and physical properties of soils, and found that way they could really understand much better the processes determining the growth and the development of the tobacco plant. And this for him was really the start he really started as a soil scientist because of that. He was first a chemist and then really became a soil scientist. After the war, he was quite instrumental in getting people together and really establishing the International Society of Soil Science in 1924 in Rome. He was certainly one of the founding fathers.
Raman spoke many languages, including Russian. He wrote several textbooks on soil science, and he made several attempts to define a soil classification system. Raman attended the Agrogeological Conference in Budapest in 1909. Then he was honorary president of the Soil Science Conferences in Prague 1922 and Rome 1924.
Professor Kopecký organized first conference on soil science in 1922 in Prague. It was 2 years before a famous international conference in Rome, where he was honored as an honorary member of IUSS at this first conference.
The conference opening ceremony took place on May the 12th before His Majesty the King of Italy, Vittorio Emanuele III.
Professor De Angeli Dossat, president of the organizing committee, gave here his inauguration speech.
As president of the organizing committee of the 4th International Conference of Pedology, I have the honor to express my deep satisfaction in seeing such a large number of scientists gathered in Rome, also coming from the most distant parts of the world, in order to continue, with intellect and love, the search for the laws that regulate the life of plants and transformations of agricultural land, to increase their yields.
The International Society of Soil Science was established in 1924 to study and promote soil science through the organization of congresses, of conferences, and through the publication of reviews that were annual volumes collecting original scientific works. It was also decided to set up a central office for soil science bibliography at the International Institute of Agriculture in Rome, that at that time was the headquarters of the society. 3 different bodies were in charge for the society. The executive committee was responsible for general business and most of its representatives were voted by the members of the society at each international congress. Indeed, the congress was pivotal to the democratic and scientific life of the society. And the president of the executive committee was elected among the members of the country in which the next congress was to be held. The scientific work of the society was carried out by the two other bodies, General Committee and subcommittees. The General Committee outlined the agenda of the Congress and was set up by at least a member per country. It also drafted the work of the subcommittees, which were appointed to study the different aspects of soil science.
Since the first agrogeological conference held in Budapest in 1909, the interest around soil science had grown over time, engaging more and more soil scientists from all sides of the world.
Japanese fellows have already joined involved in the activities, particularly international activities, long before the establishment of the International Unions of Soil Sciences. At that time, at least two people joined from Japan. One of them is Professor Kida, and another man, he was a young fellow, his name is Itano. And the third scientist named Aso, according to our report, he was selected one of the steering committee. So at least three soil scientists are involved for the establishment of the International Unions of Soil Sciences in 1924.
Konstantin Glinka was a very talented and diverse scientist. He organized more than 100 field trips to the different parts of Russian Far East, in Siberia and Central Asia, and provided unique material about the soil resources of the Asiatic part of Russia, contributed a lot to the organization of soil science, and was considered to be the leader of the Russian and Soviet soil scientists in the first part of the 20th century. The medal given by FAO for great achievements in soil science and soil protection was named after Konstantin Glinka.
Jacob Goodale Lippmann was born in Russia and immigrated to the United States with his family in 1888. His research interests were in soil bacteriology and chemistry, in particular as they related to soil nutrient cycling. He was a great advocate for research and outreach and a highly successful administrator of the New Jersey Agricultural Experiment Station and the Rutgers College of Agriculture. In 1916, he founded the journal Soil Science to provide an independent outlet for soil science research, and he served as its first editor-in-chief. In 1924, largely due to his international standing and organizational skills, Lippmann was chosen as the first president of IUSS and organized the first World Congress of Soil Science, which was held in Washington, D.C. in 1927.
After the Washington Congress in 1927, the Second World War stopped the activities of the Soil Science Society until 1950.
In 1950 then, there was the first International Soil Science Congress after the Second World War, organized in Amsterdam. And after that, we know, of course, that there have been congresses every 4 years in various parts of the world. Now, what is kind of interesting, I believe, is that the themes that were defined in 1924, as I mentioned before, are still quite relevant in modern soil science, except that now we have modern methods of measuring and monitoring, we have information technology, we have systems research, you name it, to put everything in a more modern vision. And it is very interesting to see that now 50,000 soil scientists are active in what is now called the International Union of Soil Science.
In 1999, the International Society of Soil Science became the International Union of Soil Sciences. Since the very beginning, the Society showed a plural and democratic approach based on voluntary and collegial work carried out by members from different cultures and backgrounds, sharing together a feeling of a deep-rooted community, facets that still characterize the Society today.
Since 2023, the IUSS Secretariat is hosted at CREA, Council for Agriculture and Economics. For the next 3 years, we will be running it. What an outstanding challenge!
The Secretariat has many different features, not only for its big size, but also for the ambitious goals set up by the IUSS strategic plan. Right now, we had more than 20 people forming the Secretariat, including journalists, technicians, and researchers. All these guys, all these people allow the Secretariat to have many different facets, including dissemination and relationship with the media. It is important to promote a closer cooperation between scientists and popular journals, so to improve the public scientific literacy. We need to produce more online materials related to soil science, videos, pop articles, podcasts, so that complex concepts can become accessible to all.
I think that the soil scientists should also engage in communication outside the academic research community. I really believe that this is the right direction to take. There is so much potential in engaging the public in understanding soil science. The Secretariat will improve the communication tools to bridge the gap between scientists and citizens.
The International Union of Soil Sciences can play a key role in promoting planetary science and help its members to communicate science to the public.
The International Institute of Agriculture made a huge work collecting and publishing the proceedings of the conference. 4 volumes for more than 2,500 pages. Now, these proceedings are going to be published on the webpage of the IUSS and delivered to everybody for free.
Now we are going to celebrate the centennial of the conference in Rome, and we will honor people like Emil Rahman, who did not only research, but also provided us with an overarching view of this new and important discipline called soil science.
So what in the end hard work and ideas of Professor Kopecky can be example for us and younger generation also 100 years since the ISSS or IUSS was founded.
The basic lesson of Hissink, of being theoretically sound, in this case it was chemistry, but at the same time being open to experiences in the field. The combination of the two is magic and is one of the guiding principles, I think, also for scientists in future. And with that wish, I would like to toast on 100 years of the International Union of Soil Sciences that is still very much alive and kicking. Cheers!
We do believe that the celebration of the centennial is a strong stimulus and a motivation for the new generation of soil scientists to keep the IUSS the custodian of soil sciences all over the world.